Hey, it's Harry Tice with the Tice team and Top Producers Real Estate Center with another informative roundtable discussion. And what we'll be doing over the next 2 Sundays is taking you through the buying process and touching on a lot of important factors involved from beginning to end, of course. The fun part of the process is looking for your new property.
Before we start your search, we're going to need certain criteria, like the area desired, how many bedrooms and bathrooms you're going to want, what's your price range. Also, have you been able to get a pre-qualification letter from a lender? If it's a residential house you're looking for, we need your yard size and if you want a garage instead of a carport. One thing I gotta add is that if you're looking for multiple properties, then you should bring a camera. That way you can take pictures and you can look back at your properties at a later date.
Hunter, you are so correct about a buyer getting a pre-qualification letter if they are going to be purchasing a home by using financing. Whether they're going to be buying their first primary residence, a second home, or investment property, a local lender is very important to use whenever you're looking at financing that property. Financing rules have changed so much, and with our segmented market that we have here in the Panama City and Panama City Beach area, it's definitely worth using somebody who knows what they're talking about when it comes to financing.
This brings us to the next step called the offer stage. Typically before I write an offer for a buyer, we'll request the seller's property disclosures. What those are is the seller's required to disclose any material known defects that could affect the value of the property. Once we review those, we'll go ahead and write the offer and send that over to the seller or seller's agent. The seller now has 3 options that they can do, which is reject the offer, counteroffer the offer, or accept the offer. Most times the seller will counter the offer.
The first thing you should ask for when you've made your decision on which condo you'd like to make an offer on is ask for a copy of the financials. This is a snapshot of the accounting as of a date certain for that particular complex. Also ask to see the reserve budget, which are budget items that will need to be replaced over a long-term basis. Examples of these are roof, parking lots, elevators, and other common use areas. Also ask if the reserve is fully funded or limited or partially funded. Second, ask your realtor to take you by or set up an appointment with the general manager of the condo complex and ask about items that are important to you as an owner. Examples of this would be the pet policy, assigned parking places, and any planned special assessments in the near future. Finally, do a walkthrough of the entire complex and notice how well the property is kept up. This is going to be your home or second home. You want it to be up to your standards. I hope this helps with your decision to buy in beautiful Panama City Beach.
Make sure you watch us next week when we will carry you the rest of the way to a successful closing on your new property. Thanks for watching the show. This is the follow-up to last week's show, where we're helping everyone to be prepared for things to look for to help with a successful closing on your new purchase. And an important part of that are the property inspections.
Harry, you're so right about the importance of a home inspection. Let me tell you a little story that happened recently. I had some customers who had found a beautifully renovated home, upgraded with all the bells and whistles, and they were trying to decide if they wanted to have a home inspection. Well, thankfully they did, because when the inspector went underneath the house, he found that the floor joist wasn't attached, and it would have been an expensive undergoing for the buyers. So I recommend that anyone have a home inspection, and there's different inspections that you can have. You can have a wind mitigation, lead-based paint inspection, mold inspection. And my advice to anyone is to talk to their realtor and get some suggestions about what they should and should not do. And a good realtor will walk you through and tell you what inspections you might need. And ultimately, it's the buyer's choice whether they do it or not. But personally, I wouldn't buy a home without having a home inspection.
The appraisal is one of the first steps after an accepted offer. Your lender will order that appraisal for you. Buyers and sellers do not have anything to do with the appraisal or the appraiser. Depending on the type of mortgage you're getting determines the depth and the detail of the appraisal. FHA, VA appraisals have more strict guidelines for financing and property conditions. Conventional financing is not as strict. The primary goal of an appraisal is to get the evaluation or the valuation of the property. This falls back to pricing the property for the market. If the property doesn't appraise, then the buyer and seller have the option to renegotiate at the appraised value, or the buyer may choose to pay the difference or possibly just walk away from the deal. Bottom line is the property must appraise at or above the contract price to get financing.
Let me help guide you through some of the major steps in the home buying process. After you have an accepted offer, you'll choose a title company who will make sure you have a clear and marketable title. After that, we'll go into a home inspection. We'll check to make sure the electrical, the plumbing, the appliances, everything's in good working order, including the roof. Next, we'd move into the pest control inspection, looking for any wood-destroying organisms in the structure of the home. After that would follow an appraisal to satisfy your bank loan, coming in at a minimum of the offer to purchase. After that, we'd move into the survey, make sure the boundaries are all in order, you have no encroachments on your property. After that, we would move into the area of having hazard insurance. You get your normal fire and contents insurance, possibly flood insurance if you are into a flood zone. And last but not least, we'll do a final walkthrough either the day of or the day before to make sure everything is in order as when viewed when you've decided to make this purchase.
Once all the coordination of all the different facets of the buying process is complete, the loan package will be sent over to the closer. There are many types of closings like VA, which is Veterans Administration, FHA, which is Federal Housing Administration. You've got conventional loans, you've got owner financing, you've got cash. I could spend a whole show on just what to look for at a closing. With each type of closing, there are settlement statements that are now regulated by Dodd-Frank's laws. With all that said, it is a happy time and a proud moment for the buyer and the seller, and this is the time when the seller signs over the deed to the buyer, which is just a joyous time.
Once again, we hope this helps the buying public to educate them somewhat in all that goes on throughout the buying process, up front and behind the scenes. This is the reason to contact an experienced and qualified realtor when you're considering purchasing a property. Thanks for watching the show.